Hi guys, it's Emily from Novel Novels and welcome to today's video. This is my July wrap-up part 2. Now, like I've said in previous videos, this has not been my best month. Looking at my star ratings, it's not been like a really bad month because I'll tell you the star ratings shortly. But for me, it's just not felt enough. I've not had enough books that have gone oomph. I've downgraded quite a few of my star ratings on my books because I rated them higher, and now that I'm going back to them, I'm going, doesn't feel right. So from now onwards, ignore my star ratings on Goodreads and like Storygraph. What I say on these wrap-up videos is the truth, fact, and nothing but the truth, because I think it gives me time to actually really think about what I'm going to rate my books. Now, I've not got my physical unread TBR down enough because I've read too many borrowed books. So, lesson going forward, borrow less from the library, borrow less from other people, get that physical TBR down. That is my goal for August, to get my physical TBR down. So I'm going to read less borrowed books. Obviously, I'm going to be still listening to my audiobooks, but really focus on getting that physical TBR down. Because to me, I want to feel like I'm getting it down. So I want to have books on my shelves, and I want to have books on my shelves that I really want now. So I'm really going to crack on. Because I've got loads of books, why do I need to borrow so many? And I know about the buying so many. I know I can hear my mum in the background going, why do you buy loads? But the books I buy, I'm excited by. You'll see in my book haul that's coming up, I am really excited by the books I've bought this month and the books I've been gifted. So I'm going to be I have been sensible. Like I was having a chat with Charlie yesterday, my sister, and Malibu Rising's on offer on Amazon for like £7. And I was like, do I get it? Do I get it on hardback or do I wait? And it's like we've got loads of books to read. How quickly would I read it, or can I wait another time for it to go down when I really desperately want to read it sooner? I think that's what I might do. I might sort of be a bit more less sort of jump to buy books and think about them more. Anyway, I'm rambling already. Let's get down to the stats. I've read 35 books this month, which is fan-friggin-tastic. I'm really happy with my amount of books I've read, because especially with the holidays and me being in isolation at one point, I've done well. But I've only read 25 from my physical TBR. So that's what's kind of messed up the ratings for my physical TBR versus my unread TBR. So, like I said, going forward. But I've unhauled 3 unread books. I've been a bit strict. I've seen books on my shelves and gone, I'm not going to read them. Don't think they're right for me. So I've unhauled 3 already. So that's brilliant. That's positive. So technically, I've taken down 28 books, which is the exact number of books I bought this month. I got gifted 5 books, which you'll see in my pool video, which is coming up next week. So my July unread TBR was 458, and my August unread TBR is 462. So it's only gone up by 5, but that number would have been really decreased had I read off my physical TBR. So, going forward, I'm going to sort that. Now for the genres and stuff. I've read 1 sci-fi book, which is How to Stop Time. 1 mystery. I'm going to push myself to read more mysteries and thrillers. I've decided I'm going to take 1 book off each shelf every month for my physical TBR thing. That's another positive thing I'm going to do every month. I'm going to go through each shelf and for my set TBR go 1 book off each shelf. And that's a positive. 1 fantasy. Yeah, that was not as good as I wanted. 2 non-fictions. Again, I'm trying to work on my non-fictions. I want to get that figure up a bit more. 5 classics because it was Jane Austen July, although I expected it to be more, but I'm having a real classics slump at the moment. I'm having a real, not enjoying them as much. And I read 11 contemporaries. That's good. I'm happy with that. That's contemporaries, and some of them are contemporary / not sure about contemporaries, but 14 historical fictions. And again, I'm really happy by that. So my contemporaries and historical fictions are the highest, which is what I wanted. They're also the books that were in my favourites. So, kind of gives you an idea of how I've been. As for my star ratings, I've DNF 1 book this month. I have unrated 2 books. I had 1 2-star rating, 1 2.5-star rating, 2 3-star ratings, 5 3.5-star ratings, although the 3 and the 3.5 are really pushing it on either which side. 10 4 stars, 5 4.5 stars, and 9 5 stars. So I should be saying, oh, it's been a great month. But for me, it's just, I like it when my 5 stars are like loads and my 4.5s are like loads. And they've just not been enough. I don't know. Am I just being silly? Am I just being a bit of a silly Billy? Anyway, let's get on with it. Let's talk about the book. So my unrated book that I listened to on audio book was The Comfort Book by Matt Haig. It's on mental health. I listened to it on audio book. It was a really short audio book, but it did help me. It kind of made me think I'm pushing myself a bit more than I should be with my mental health, and I need to kind of work on certain things and not beat myself up for stuff. My anxiety's been going through the roof again recently, and I need to work on getting that down, working on getting my mental health down. I've been doing some stuff with Holly from Moving My Mind, so exercise stuff, and that's to get my mental health up, because I find that if I do a bit of exercise, like playing football with the kids the other day, fantastic. And I'm going to do more things like that to really boost that up. So then I'll be happier with you guys. So yeah, The Comfort Book really did help, but that was only, I can't rate it. It's non-fiction, it's about mental health. It's not my position to rate that. My 2-star book of the month, which you guys know about, I can't remember what I said about that, was my 2-star. Yeah, it was Ashes from London, but I've already spoken about that in my last wrap up. But my 2.5-star book of the month was this one. I'm so sorry, Ange. Ange from Angie's Book Chatter said that I would love Family Life by Akhil Sharma, but to me I didn't. I'm so sorry. I don't know whether this is a low star rating because of the triggers it set off in me. This is about a family from India that moved to America in the 70s. So I'm classing this as contemporary, but I think it should be not historical fiction, because it's in the late 1970s. 8-year-old AJ and his brother Burju, life in Delhi in the late 70s, it follows a comfortable, predictable routine. They move to America, and then something happens to his brother. I will be honest, pretty happens something very early, and he ends up getting very bad brain damage, and it's very bad. And I think for me, because of my own brain damage, it triggered a lot of memories of what could have been. Thank God, it makes me praise God for what I've got. But for me, some of the descriptions that AJ describes his brother and what his brother's going through, I find quite graphic and made me feel very, very uncomfortable. I'm not saying the writing's bad in this book, it really isn't, but the descriptions of what of AJ, and it does tackle, it has got a lot of triggers which I probably should have put in my story graphs. It does tackle alcoholism, it tackles like I said, brain injury, it tackles loads of things about brothers adjusting, and but it's about the story between a boy torn between duty and survival, and it ruins of everything you know. Very hard hitting, and for me it just wasn't right. I picked up at a charity shop about a year ago. I'm glad I've read it, because it's one that it did make me think about some other things, but it's not one I can reread. If anyone wants to have it, let me know, because I'm not going to keep it. Now another book that is, now I'm on to my 3-star books, and this one had so much potential. It's a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I was going to rate it 3.5 stars, but I've changed it to 3 because I've read a lot of Beauty and the Beast retellings. You know, Beauty and the Beast is my absolute favourite fairy tale. But this is Lost in a Book. And this is about Belle getting lost in a book. And it's about love and death. And it had so much potential. And the end bit was really good. The last 100 pages I loved. And that's why I gave it 3 stars. But the pace at the start was really slow. It didn't give me enough on Beast, in my opinion. It didn't. There was so much more that could have been in this book, and a lot of other people have rated it 4 or 5 stars, and I'm gutted that I didn't. But maybe I'm just having a bit of a slump with the retellings as well. I'm having a bit of a slump with certain like classics and retelling. But this just wasn't for me. It had so much potential, and it hidden beneath in Beast Library, Belle is about to discover the mysterious book and a glittering new world. But everything is not as it seems, and when the time comes, but will Belle be able to find her way back home? Could have been so much more, but it just wasn't right for me. Again, had potential, but just not right for me. So. And then a book I picked off my shelves because I bought it recently. It's about the start of the year. And this is more of a 1960s kind of historical fiction. Let the Good Times Roll. At Jolly's holiday camp, the fun never ends. And this is exciting in some ways. It's 3 stars, but it's a good 3 stars. It's probably one of the higher rated 3 stars. And it's about a holiday camp, and it's a bit predictable, you know. Although I didn't guess the twist of, because they're in this holiday camp, and Patsy Mathers is got this head stripey job, and she got chosen by accident. And then she's got this naughty girl Dixie who's trying to sabotage her. And then you've got someone who's trying to like basically do lots of things to destroy the camp, and we don't know who. I did not guess who it was. This is why this one may end up going up, because I've only just finished it. So it's 3 stars, but it may end up going up. Because the staff manager, Harold Rose, is rallying the troops. But there's stuff with him, but there's lots of stuff, and there's lots of characters. And for me, I got a bit like, who's going on with who? And you could sense that there was a girl that's his secretary who's trying to disrupt his life. So there was lots of storylines in this, and this could have been more. But it did have me mystery. I didn't guess who the baddie was. But one of the storylines was very predictable. So, a bit hit and miss with this. It was 3 stars, but it was kind of a good 3. Not a bad 3 stars, but not one I'm going to be keeping. Then, my 3.5 stars. And I've only got 2 that I'm talking about, because it was 3 2.5 stars. But this one, stars, spines cracked on it, so I'm giving it to the charity shops, but they may not end up keeping it. The Widows of Windsor. And the reason why I probably only got 3.5 stars was because I picked up one that's quite far into the series. But Albert is dead, and the Queen is preparing to spend the rest of her life in mourning, yet the last years of her reign are momentous ones. Palmerston, then Gladstone, then Disraeli govern her empire through the high noon of its heyday. However, the court of Windsor, Osborne Palace, is shocked by the actions of the Queen's son. This is more about Bertie and his wife than I found it was about Victoria. Yes, you find out more about Victoria's children, which I did enjoy. You know I love historical fiction regarding the kings and queens of England, and I love Queen Victoria. But this was definitely more about Bertie, definitely more about his wife and their story. It kind of ran alongside Queen Victoria. So 3.5 stars, it was a good 3.5 stars, but it wasn't what I expected it to be, and I was probably too far into the series. I need to read more on Queen Victoria because I am fascinated by her. She came across as a really hard lady, but I've read about her. Very hard. She wasn't into her children when they were babies, but she got into them as they grew older. She had a very fractious relationship with her eldest children, and Bertie really was a naughty boy. But I did enjoy it. Don't know what to make of this. 3.5 stars, but it really was quite good. Jean Plaidy is a fantastic writer. I really love her Tudor fiction. This was actually written quite a long time ago, I believe. Don't know exactly when. So I think, but this is part of a series, and I believe, see, I've got a page series. There was a lot more about the Tudors. There we go. So she's written I should have read the Captains of Kensington Palace, the Queen and Lord M, the Queen's husband, or the Widow of Windsor. So that's quite far down. She's got her Tudor series, which I've got more of that I want to get to. The Plantagenet series, French Revolutionists. I love her books. This was 3.5 stars. It was a good book. But I've kind of broken the spine, so I don't know if the charity shops will keep it or not, but I'm giving that one back. And then The Post Office Girls, which I've already given back to the library. That was a historical fiction book. That was going to be 4 stars, I think, and then I rated it down to 3.5. It's about it's set in the wartime again, about the girls in the post office, a girl that goes to work at the post office and just disobeys her family. But the fact that I've not got it, and the fact that it's not leading, I can't tell you too much about it, is why I dropped it down to 3.5 stars as well. Because if it was memorable, I would be able to tell you loads about it, but I can't. So it's obviously not as memorable as I wanted it to be. It's a good book. I picked it up from the library. It's a new release out, so it was a good book. Good historical fiction. Good to sort of see about women doing their bit. I think it was set in not the World War II, but set in World War One. And the women went to work for the post office and did the men's jobs, and it's a bit of a... They sort of took the men's roles because the men had to go for war, and men were a bit worried that their lives would be disrupted when they got back, that kind of thing. So it was good. Suffragettes here was talked about in that, but the suffragettes weren't represented as well as they could have been. Or maybe I'm also finding out the other side of the suffragettes, so the side that did they need to do all the things they did. But I'll talk about more about that in another book that I've read. Bit of reading about the suffragettes this month by accident. So now I'm on to my 4-star books. One that I will finish today. So I'm rating it 4 stars because I know I will finish it today and it will be done on the finished on the 31st. It's a Kathy Brownlee book. It's called A Vintage Summer. I wanted a summer book even though it's not summery outside today. But again, at the moment, I'm predicting pretty much what's going on in it. So it's a cosy 4 stars, cosy summer book. Not as good as some of Kathy Brownlee's other work, but it is good. London has not been kind to Lottie Albright. Realising it's time to cut and run, she packs up and moves back home, but finds her family in disarray. In need of a new place to stay, Lottie takes up the offer of a living job at managing a local vineyard. There's a romance going in this. This is tackling, although I will sound, this may end up going up to 4.5 stars, so I keep saying I know what my star rating, but I'm really dilly-dallying at the moment. Because this is tackling old age, because this has got so many things in it that I'm thinking about going forward. It may end up going up my star rating, because Widow Betsy has got AMD, so acute macular degeneration, which is something I know about in my job, where she can see her she can't see the central field of vision, she can only see her peripheral field of vision, and that's being represented really well. So with my job, I know about a lot about that, and I see that a lot in my job, not a huge amount, but it's something we talk about. So that's portrayed very well. We've got a lady in a wheelchair, that's portrayed very well. She can't use her legs, so that's showing the disabilities. That's got disability rep. We're also seeing an abusive relationship at the start, so I'm not giving spoilers. There is an abusive relationship at the start, and that's been portrayed well. There's been a couple of bits that are predictable, which I can't really tell you because it gives spoilers. But it is good. It's a summer book. And I'm now thinking 4.5. So maybe check out my Goodreads review on this, because this may go up. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place today. But I am really enjoying it. I love Kathy Brownlee's work. I don't think I'll keep it, so that may be why it stays at 4 stars. Because it's not one of her best. And I've got so many contemporaries, I don't need to keep all of them. Then I've got All I Ever Wanted by Lucy Dillon. This is 4 stars, and it was going to actually only be 3.5 stars, but then something happened in this, and it portrayed motherhood in a way that I didn't realise, and that's what it got up to 4 stars. I picked this up as a random one because I wanted a contemporary to read at bedtime. Caitlin's life is a mess. Her marriage to the man everyone thinks is perfect has collapsed, along with her self-esteem, and breaking free seems like the only option. Nancy, her 4-year-old daughter, used to talk, and now she stops talking. But to her brother Joel, and Nancy's auntie Eva, so Caitlin's husband's older sister, is recently widowed and feeling alone apart from the companionship of her 2 bewildered dogs. Eva's relationship with Nancy is fantastically well portrayed. Eva's selective mutism is portrayed well. And Caitlin was annoying the hell out of me. Caitlin annoyed me. Her mother, that's why another reason why it could have gone higher, but it wasn't. Because Caitlin was being quite naughty. To me, she seems quite selfish in a lot of the book. And Caitlin's relationship with her mother's not very good. But there is a quote in here towards the end, so I can't really tell you why it's been said. But I need to write that down before I give this book away. And Caitlin's talking to her mother because they have a very fractious relationship. Caitlin had her son Joel at a very young age by accident. And she's talking to her mum, and they're sort of trying to build bridges, so I shouldn't really be giving spoilers, but anyway, you know me. But she's talking with her, Caitlin's mum is talking to her about the fact they wanted to try and fix things. And she says to her daughter, do you remember how it was when it was only me that could shake the bad dreams out of your pillow when you were small? That's all I wanted to do when you were struggling with Joel. Shake your pillow. It doesn't matter how old you get, Caitlin. I'm never going to want to stop making the bad things go away. Well, not cry. But as a mum, and talking to my mum, I know as it is now, as my kids are children, they're young, I never want to stop their pain going away. I hate seeing them in pain. And my mum has spoken to me about this, and I spoke to my mum about it, and she said, we're like, I'm 42, one of my sisters is nearly 40, and my other sister is in her late 30s. And she's seen all of us going through traumas over the years, and she, obviously my accident. And she said it killed, no matter how old we get, it's hurt her seeing us go through pain, and she still would love to take it away. So that's why that's a motherhood. That quote really stood by, so I need to write that down somewhere. That's why that got 4 stars. Motherhood's tackled really well. Anyway, we're on 20 minutes and I've still got loads of books to talk about, so I better not talk too much. Read by Sophie Kinsella, book of the month, 20s girl. This is not one of her best books, but it is about a girl who has got... This is the magical bit of Sophie Kinsella that I love. She meets a ghost, and it's her great aunt. She goes to her great aunt's funeral, and her great aunt appears as a ghost. It's pretty well obvious. But when her great aunt appears, she is from the 1920s. She's a teenager still. She's not the old person she became. And it's finding out what happened to her great aunt and what went on. That's really exciting. I really love this. Did love it. Did think it was really exciting. Quite funny, the ghost. There's a romance bit in it that's quite good. It's like the fact that her great aunt could make everything happen, and if we make people do things they don't want to do, is that right or is that wrong? But this is quite fun. It's quite a fun contemporary. 4 stars, definitely. Not one I'm going to keep. Then we've got Man Called Ove, which I read because I didn't expect to like this. I read this because of my Try Chapter Tag books that I borrowed. My sister Charlie, that's going back to her. I tried it once before and I didn't like it. I started it and didn't finish it. Everyone has told me to bloody read this book. Ove is a grumpy old git. Let's be honest, he's a grumpy old git. But when you find out why, you understand. This is tackling depression, grief, lots of things. But a new family appears on his street, new neighbours appear, and they turn his life upside down. And I end up blooming loving Ove. Did not expect to like this. I'm now going to pick up more Frederick Backman's books. But what do I pick up next? Because there's been mixed reviews of Frederick Backman's books. If I love this book, what do I pick up next? You guys decide. I will look for more of his books if you guys tell me which ones to look for. But yes, that's going back to Charlie. Then I think I'm on my library books. Did I put this as a 4.5? No, I did put this as 4 stars. The Founding School from Girls. This is another one of my borrowed books. This is, again, set quite a long time ago. I think it's set in 18-something or another. 1855. And this is really good. It's about a foundling. It's about, again, at the start, you're tackling child abuse. So there are some triggers for that right at the start, to be warned. But then you're also tackling about people who've been through stuff and families not being families and nuns and loads of stuff. And it's a really good book. Really did enjoy it. This library book. Then a book that I got sent for a reader mail out from Tandem. Silence of the Girls. I'm giving this to Charlie from Charles Heathcote because BookTube Charlie, because I think he will love it. I think it's a great book on like when Queen Helen of Troy is kidnapped by the Trojans, the Greeks set sail in pursuit, besieging the city of Troy. Trapped in a Greek soldiers' camp is another captured queen, Brasilis, condemned to be a bed slave to Achilles, the man who butchered her family. She becomes a pawn in a menacing game. I wanted to read more about the Greek gods, and it is good. It's 4 stars because the writing is fantastic. But to me, there is a lot of graphic war scenes, again, abuse scenes, again, a lot of things that happened in there that were quite, maybe you feel a bit eerie. I think if you're not as gentle on the stomach as me, you'll love it. I think Charlie might enjoy it because he likes that kind of thing. But it just wasn't for me. It was brilliant writing. That's why it's 4 stars. The writing's amazing. I learnt a lot from it. I learnt a lot about the Greek gods and about that. And it's nice to see Brasilis, who was quite a feisty woman. I loved her character. She was really feisty, really strong-willed. And it was nice to hear about someone different. It was nice to hear a bit more. And it also did show a different side to Achilles, which was nice to read about. But yeah, I'm not sure. But that's going away again. That's going away. Now I'm on to my 4.5 stars. And this is going to be a long video, so I really do need to cut back what I say. For my borrowed book, I read another Daphne du Maurier, A Loving Spirit. This got up to 4.5 stars because it was really good. But it's go back to my sister Charlie. If I get it, I'll get a decent copy. This is about, it's got like 3 different storylines in this. Janet Combe, her son, and then her granddaughter. And they're sort of storylines about a ship, and it's brilliant. And I love Daphne du Maurier. Let's go back to Charlie. A book that I didn't expect to be, I picked this up randomly because I bought it from the pound shop last year. This is about a child who, 2 children that were swapped at birth. One was disabled, one was able-bodied, and you are finding out about when they sort of meet up and whether they will keep the people that had the, I'm really trying to word this right. If you discover that the child you'd raised and loved for 15 years belonged to someone else, and what if that child was born with a genetic flaw that would alter the course of your family's life forever? Would you seek out the truth and risk breaking your family apart, or would you pretend not to know? So obviously they do meet up, the families do meet up. But is the able-bodied person better off than the person that has a genetic flaw, that has a disability? This is quite fascinating. And it's quite fascinating about the family concept. The writing in this is brilliant. It's about disability. It shows again disability in a brilliant light. I can't keep it because it's really triggering and very emotional for me, but it's a brilliant written book and I thoroughly recommend it. I may be unhauling it, but I think if you want it, let me know, because I think this could be a potential really good book. Then I got on to my last 4.5 star book. This was fantastic. It's 4.5 stars, but it dropped half a star because to me the ending wasn't just, it just lacked that full bit to give it a fantastic ending. Elizabeth is missing. So this is Maud is forgetful. She makes a cup of tea and doesn't remember to drink it. She goes to the shops and forgets why she went. Sometimes her home is unrecognisable. Her daughter Helen seems like a stranger. But one thing's for sure, her friend Elizabeth is missing. This shows her more story about Elizabeth, and it also shows about her sister who is missing in the, I think it's like wartime time. And she's determined to find out that. So when her memory goes, she goes back to the wartime and back to her sister's stuff. And then she goes to the present and keeps saying Elizabeth is missing. Those two storylines run very well. This tackles dementia very, very well. But again, for me, that was very triggering because my nan had dementia. And for me, I've had to speak to my mum quite a lot about this book because it really has triggered a lot of memories. I went to see my nan about a month before she died. And we'd lost her. Like, physically she was there, but mentally she'd gone. And we lost her for a very long time before that. So I'm trying not to be emotional, but yeah. This tackles dementia very well. It's a beautifully written book, very hard-hitting. We'll definitely pick up more Emma Healy books. This isn't a thriller, this is more of a contemporary mystery. But it's one that's done brilliantly. I'm not keeping it because it will trigger me, but yeah. Definitely recommend it. So now I'm going on to my 5 stars. Firstly, we'll talk about the fact that there is a book that's 5 stars that I picked up on audiobook because of Katie from Books and Things had recommended it. Now, Gemma from Read a Book Gem, one of my BookTube besties, didn't like it. I loved it. It was 5 stars. It is amazing. I thoroughly love it. In fact, if I was to see a copy now in the charity shops, I will get it. It's that good. It really is about the Dictionary of Lost Words and about a girl who starts off very young and we go to her end and her journey. And again, the suffragettes come up in this. Books come up in it, words come up in it, how we use words comes up in it, generational stories come up in it, class genders come up in it. It's just fantastic. I thoroughly loved it, and I can now see why Katie rated it one of her best books of the year. It's not one of my favourite, it's not my favourite book of the month, so it probably won't be again in my favourite books of the year, but it is fan-freaking-tastic. Then I've got 2 Chicklets Together. I'll say about them together, which is the Little Shop of Happily Ever After, which is the first in this series. And then the third in the series, which has recently come out in paperback. I read the first at the start of the month, towards the middle of the month. I read it with Gemma. Gemma sort of found it average. I thoroughly loved it. Loved it because it's got a little travelling bookshop in it. So I love the book element inside it. Really enjoyed it. And it's actually technically a reread, but because it's different, because I didn't have it physically, I'm not casting it as a reread on my scores. And then this last book, which I loved, very loved. Lisa loves her stories as her job as a nurse, but she's also been doing a better job of looking after other people than herself. And then she swaps life with Cormac, who is desperately in need of distraction, and there's little increase. So they swap places. He then moves down to London. She stays in she moved up to Scotland. How their lives are interacted is brilliantly. This tackles PTSD, anxiety and depression really well. I'm keeping this book. They are both friggin' amazing. 2 of Jenny Colgan's best books. I love that series. Then 2 books that I didn't expect to be 5 stars. This is one of my last books of the month. The Library of Lost and Found. And I'm sorry, there's Mia in the background when I'm recording. And this is 5 stars. I picked this up as a last minute pick up. Did not expect to love it. It's 5 stars in all the way. Library of Lost and Found. This is about a family. This has got books included in it. This has got bookshops included in it. This has got family secrets included in it. This has got sibling relationships included in it. This has got magic and stories and how stories connect people, how you've been true to ourselves, about people who put other people first. This is a fantastic book. I don't know whether I'm keeping it, but I don't know whether I want to lend it to people. I don't know if my mum I might lend it to my mum, or Gemma, I think you might like this. If you want to borrow it, let me know. This is brilliant. This is absolutely brilliant. It's got everything and more in it, and I'm so surprised I didn't read it sooner. Then my favourite book of the month, which I started buddy reading with Leo, but poor guy's going through a bit of stuff, so he had to stop buddy reading it. Instructions for Heatwave. My sister Charlie is borrowing this, so it'll be a borrow because it's made me... This is the best Maggie O'Farrell book I've ever read, and now I know that I'm getting a gift from Charlie that could be a Maggie O'Farrell book. This is friggin' amazing. I did not expect to love this as much as I did. I've got 2 more Maggie O'Farrell books that I want to read now, and I'm desperate to get to them. This is set in July 1976 in London, and it's the grip of a heatwave. Our heatwave's gone now. That's why I picked it up. Robert Royden tells his wife Greta that he's going around the corner to buy a newspaper. He doesn't come back. The search of Robert's brings Greta's children, 2 estranged sisters and a brother that's on the brink of divorce, back home, each with different ideas where their family has gone. None of them suspects that her mother might have an explanation she cannot share. This is fan-friggin-tastic. Did not expect to love this as much as I did, but I did love it. I love the siblings. I love the battles they're all going through. I love their own stories. I love the rebellious youngest daughter. I can't say her name, but look on the lovely Maria from MH Books book description of this, because she's got it perfect. This is brilliant. I love this book. It's everything and more. It's families, it's heatwaves, it's multi-generate, it's their generation stories, it's Irish families, it's set in the year that my parents got married. Loved her writing in this. It is exquisite and an amazing book. So, as you hadn't guessed, my favourite book of the month is this and Longbourn. They're my 2 favourite books of the month. 2 books I will be keeping forever, and 2 books I loved. Sorry this is such a long video. I really have been very descriptive today, so I hope you like that. I'm sorry again. What's been your favourite book of the month? Let me know in the comments below. Have you had a good book month? What Frederick Batman books do I read next? I want loads of feedback. I love it when you guys comment on me. Let me know things. I love it. I love chatting to you in the comments. It makes me so happy. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel and not subscribed yet, ring on my ding-a-ling, and I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.